morning, we're taking a look at a key New York congressional race. Long Island could play a major role in the balance of power in Congress. Democrats hoping to gain seats there, and whoever wins the race will have a tough road in the general. Rep. Nick LaLota currently holds the seat, and he is running for re-election. So the district has been red for almost a decade, right? Covers major areas of Suffolk County, and despite its long-standing Republican leadership, the seat is considered a swing district. Democratic congressional candidate John Avlon believes that he can swing that district to blue. And let's bring him into the conversation now. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for being here on Picks on Politics.
Dan, my pleasure. Good to talk to you.
So let me begin with a very basic question I'm sure you've heard many times. What makes you think that you as a Democrat can win this particular district?
Because it's a swing district, because there are more registered independents in New York 1 than any other district in New York State, because it was held by Tim Bishop, a Democrat, for 12 years before Lee Zeldin, and because Nick LaLota is a first-term Republican who's far too far right for the district, endorsed Donald Trump, mocked the bipartisan border security bill, and he's been MIA on many of the key issues that people care about. So this is the right time, the right cycle to build on the gains Tom Suozzi made, run a different kind of campaign, energize Democrats, win over independents. We're going to get this done this year. We're going to flip this seat.
Yeah, you mentioned Thomas Suozzi. I'm sure you watched that campaign very carefully, right? It was basically a close race until the end. So what did you look at that race and say, okay, he did some things that he was able to turn that seat blue again that you may do now?
Absolutely. A few things. First of all, he affirmed the idea that candidate select quality matters. Second, that messaging matters. You need to play offense on the issues people care about, and that includes crime and immigration. Democrats need to get off defense. But then I think what you also need to do is make sure you're reaching out. It shows the power of the vital center, of seizing that center with a common sense problem-solving message, saying that Washington's so obsessed with fighting all the time, not enough on fixing, and Republicans are the problem because they think bipartisanship is the problem, and we know it's the solution. That's what he learned from Tom Suozzi.
So, John, let me talk to you about some of the big issues right now. Immigration, obviously top of mind for so many. It was a big issue in that race in New York District 3 as well. It's a big issue playing out across the country with the migrant crisis here in New York as well. What is your stance on what is going on at the border? Should the border be closed, in your opinion, temporarily to stop the flow of migrants, get a handle of what's here? How do you see things playing out?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I'm the grandson of immigrants, and I think the common sense position is we need more legal immigration in America and less illegal immigration. But that border security bill that you just outlined some of the pieces of, that's something that I absolutely would have supported. Republicans asked for it in exchange for aid to Ukraine and Taiwan and Israel. And then when Democrats negotiated that position, guess what happened? Donald Trump said ditch it because he didn't want bipartisanship to happen. He would rather fearmonger and fundraise off it than fix it. And Nick LaLota joined in on that chorus, put out a tweet mocking the bipartisan border security bill, as tough as it was. That, I think, was a key factor in why Tom Suozzi pulled away at the end, because people understand that Republicans aren't serious about fixing this crisis. And that's where Democrats can say, look, they're not part of the solution, they're part of the problem, we'll fix it. And we need comprehensive immigration reform in America, and that's what I think will get done.
Yeah, and you mentioned Congressman Nick LaLota. That is who you would face if you won this, right? He won by almost 10 points in 2022. So how do you overcome that if you're the nominee heading into the general?
Look, I think it's an issue of people over-index some of these races in recent years, and it's, I think, generals fight in the last war. First of all, I think the turnout models are very different in the presidential, particularly with Donald Trump running at the top of the ticket after January 6th, after 91 indictments. But also on the ground, of course, the fact that you know and your viewers know is that was a gubernatorial race, and Lee Zeldin had previously represented this seat. And so I think there was a sense not necessarily playing offense as much as can be the case, should be the case, and will be the case. We're going to be able to win a significant percentage of Republicans this cycle who reject Donald Trump because they know he's got nothing to do with the Reagan Republicanism that might have brought them to the party in the first place. And we're going to win a majority of independents, in addition to having a really fired up Democratic base. We need to play offense, reach out, and that's what we'll do. And I think Trump will be a real, really a problem for a lot of Republicans, including Nick LaLota, who enthusiastically endorsed him when he didn't think he'd have a competitive race. Now he does. He's going to regret that.
It's very interesting, too, when you looked at somebody like Tom Suozzi. He took a very measured approach when it came to President Joe Biden, didn't have him come here to campaign with him. Would you ask, if you were to secure the nomination, to have President Biden come here, help campaign with you? And what is your take on him running for re-election?
Look, I think President Biden has been an effective and consequential president. I think, the special election is a very different circumstance than a national general election. And I think President Biden's been right about a number of big things from the beginning. One, the defining struggle of our time is democracy versus autocracy at home and abroad. The contrast couldn't be more clear. The stakes couldn't be more urgent. Also, President Biden has a long record of focusing on strengthening and rebuilding the middle class. That is one of the key responsibilities for our country if we want to heal our divides. And three things built the middle class in America: unions, community colleges, and the GI Bill. And those are the kind of things we need to strengthen and to heal those divides in our country in the long run. Once this fever breaks, that needs to be the lens through which everything is looked at.
Yeah, I'm listening to you very carefully, too. And, and I can't help but think about the divisiveness that's playing out in Congress right now. I'm sure you're very well aware when you watch the headlines.
Yes.
You used to be part of the news yourself. So when you look at it all, as a member of Congress, how would you come together? And for something like the immigration bill, how do you get it to work together with Republicans and Democrats when right now it just seems so divided?
This is why folks are so cynical and sick of politics as usual, and that's what I'm running to disrupt. It's not that we don't know how to solve this problem. We do. It's comprehensive immigration reform is necessary. President Biden backed it. President Obama backed it. President Bush worked with Senators McCain and Kennedy to reform it. And Republicans keep running away from it. But I think there are enough folks of goodwill who you can reason together. If we're strong on border security, provide a pathway to citizenship for the dreamers, we get those H-2A visas that are so necessary for farmers all throughout Suffolk County and temporary workers. It's a win-win. We just need to have the political courage to make sure we're not letting the extremes dominate the debate and we focus on fixing the problems and not just being content to fundraise off them. And that's what frustrates folks. And that's how we need to reach out and work with people of goodwill where they exist.
And what are your thoughts? I'm curious on your take on George Santos, right? Expelled from Congress, says he's going to run on the Republican side against LaLota, then says, you know what, I'm actually going to run as an independent. See you in November.
Look, as I said, bring it on. But also, I mean, I think it's important to understand that Santos and LaLota are just the two faces of Trumpism. One's a serial liar, and the other's a Trump flunky who'll do whatever Donald Trump says. And I think that speaks to the sickness that's overtaken the Republican Party in this era. So, I look forward to campaigning against them both. I think the contrast couldn't be clearer.
Understood. I appreciate your time this morning. Great to have you here on Picks on Politics, Mr. Avlon. Come back soon, okay?
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
All right. And primary day in New York State, everybody, is June 25th. So, of course, we'll cover this race and all of the major primaries right here.